Hello and welcome to part 2 of this series, and today we've got the APAC region as well as the overall tier list that we're going to be making, and we'll go through the teams like we did last time, and then this time we're going to combine both of the tier lists and we'll also do an overall power ranking. So let me just open this thing because I actually want to bring this with me. Okay, so we start with Chengdu. Now, Chengdu have always been that meme team, and they've always just run ball, gone super aggressive. Jinmu goes in, balls to the wall, his Farah just destroys, but he also gets caught out. This season, they've got a stacked full Chinese roster still, but a stacked DPS line, stacked support line. They're one of the few teams I think who's almost used up all 12 roster slots. They've lost Molly to Shanghai Dragons, and to be honest, I do think the support line is where they may suffer, as well as off tank. But I've heard great things about Gaga, and I've watched a few VODs, and he seems to be the new age ball tech, and they've already got the ball god Among himself. So I think main tank, they're well sorted. Support, I think Eveltal, who is their captain, and Orna Toure, sounds fairly odd. And then again, like I said, I think their DPS line is pretty sick. That being said, APAC is a stacked region. I'm going to put Chengdu B, and then we're going to have to calculate everybody else around that. Guangzhou Charge. Now, Guangzhou Charge, I think, I've seen them recently, and I don't think... were they in the Steel Series Invitational? No, the Nexus Cup, and they then had another recent match against New York Excelsior, I think it was. And again, they've lost Happy, they've lost Nero, they lost Shu. I think these are 3 very important players that they've lost here. And as a result of losing especially Happy and Nero, their DPS line looks a bit barren. Kaylee didn't seem very well coordinated. Eileen, I think, slaps, but he can't carry a team. He's not a DK. Karif, I think, is pretty decent, but I think Mandu is a big weakness. Rio and Krong, I think, is a decent tank line. But based on what they've lost and how much how underwhelmed I was when they played against New York, I'm going to have to put them below Chengdu Hunters, to be honest. Then Hangzhou Spark. Now, I think they're pretty exciting, to be honest. Godsby, I think, has always been a great hit scan. And I think Architect has been always a sick tracer and good projectile player. Shai and Somin Su, I'm a bit less sure about, but you've got most of it covered, and they're probably going to flex. I think they've got a decent support line in IDK, and I think Coldest would be who I'd think. Yeah. But this dual nationality team lineup with Goucher sort of being able to play both, basically, because he's been playing with South Koreans his whole life, essentially, Overwatch League life. So I think that this is the problem. Hangzhou have let me down so many times. They were 4th in their first inaugural season, which was season 2, and last season I think they just fell off. I think this season I'm gonna put them at A. And then we come to the dumpster fire that was the LA Valiant. So they have recently released their team. This is their team, bare bones. They've actually managed to get 3, sick. I'm not expecting much. You've essentially got the dregs that nobody else wanted to pick up. You've got a cursed team. Nobody likes you. I wish the players the best of luck, to be honest. I think it's unfair on the players. I think the management should be ashamed of themselves the way they treated them. But they're the only team that's going in F tier. So moving on. Now, New York Excelsior, I think they're interesting. They, I think, are trying to move in a new direction. I think season 1, it was boring, but they still didn't win anything. I think they have this chronic culture of failure where they can make it to finals, they can make it to playoffs, but I think winning and like having, perhaps they want more of a Seoul Dynasty feel where they have these fluctuating like periods of like greatness and rubbishness, but at least you have periods of greatness where you peak and win something, because to be honest, they've never done anything like that. From what I saw in their open scrim with Guangzhou, I think Jonak is having to adjust his playstyle. I think Friday is a good foil for him. Yatpun takes a bit too much damage and is not as flexible as I'd like. Gwangbun, you know, slaps, and I think they have a good DPS line. So, if I'm honest, I think New York Excelsior are going to be where they were last season. I think they're in the A tier with Hangzhou Spark, or high B tier. Where I think I'll put them is probably B tier until we see them up against proper stiff competition, because against Guangzhou I don't think that was too relevant. Then we have Philly Fusion. Now, we all know about Carpe, we all know about EQO. They've managed to get Shockwave and Rascal, and I think that is an important distinction. They now have a stacked DPS line, but they might suffer from the same problem as NYXL, in that it always seems like they get there and then something just fails. I think they've always had a solid support line. Funny Asher and Alarm. I think Alarm is an amazing flex support, and I think Funny Asher is a serviceable high level like main support. Poco and Mano, I think having lost Fury and Sado, I think that is where the biggest hit you've had. But Poco I think is a decent off tank, but I'm not too impressed with his. I think his Diva doesn't need to be mentioned. His Sigma I think is decent, but I don't think he was that good as Zarya. So again, iffy about that. And Mano. So I'm put Philly Fusion A with Hangzhou Spark. Then we come to Seoul Dynasty. Now, everyone says, and everyone memes on them, that basically there's playoff Seoul and then there's regular season Seoul. And I think part of it's the region they come from. I think APAC is so stacked that like there's not that much room for like, you know, being a bit rubbish and working your way into a meta, if that makes sense. If you've got the wrong meta in APAC, the other teams will just destroy you. Because of that, I think the addition of Sabiobi, I think, will give them a stabilizing appearance, and I think Sabiobi is actually a great addition to this team, despite what most people think. I don't think he plays over Fitz and Profit. I think you play Fitz and Profit most times, but if you want Profit on a hero that Fitz can't play the established sort of secondary player, I think Sabiobi, and you want someone who played Tracer who's stable, I think Sabiobi. And I think if you want someone like Seoul, don't have a problem turning up in playoffs or turning up in finals. They have a problem during main seasons. They need someone to stabilize them. I think Sabiobi is that person. I think they have a decent flex support. I think Animo is a little bit underwhelming, and I think they need another main support. Don't know where that's going to come from. And then they have, I think Tuyu's impressed me in his recent, that Nexus Cup. I think he impressed me. And in their scrim against Washington. And I think Gesture, you just play him on playoffs, to be honest, and just play Marvel during the main season. I will put Seoul in A. And then Shanghai Dragons, what more needs to be said? The biggest thing that most people thought was perhaps that they wouldn't have good hit scan when they let go of DM, but he's back. We have Erster, who's amazing, and even if he doesn't play well, like I think on Atlanta Rain they expected him to be the carrier, and I think that was a bit too much pressure for him. I think, to be honest, he will play better in this team because Fletter and Lip and DM cover so much that he can just have fun. He also offers a different style to Fletter, so I think that will play very well into Shanghai's hands. I think Isayaki and Lee Jae-gong are an amazing support line. I think Molly's there for Chinese representation, and Void is, in my eyes, second only to Fletter as MVP, and Fate, I think, plays well with Moon. So I think he is actually very important. I would have liked them to maybe have another tank in there instead of like Fate, just in case. But I think if you are going with the fact that Fate is more flexible than perhaps Fearless, he doesn't have the holes Fearless had. So Fearless, essentially, if it was a Winston meta, or if they could make it into a Winston meta, Shanghai will basically dominate. However, if it's not, and Fearless is uncomfortable, they relied on Stan 1. And I think Fate basically has a higher ceiling than Stan 1 and lower scope for making mistakes than Fearless on heroes he's not comfortable with. So I think Shanghai quite easily go into top tier. And then, so let's put them on to here. So I obviously think Shanghai Dragon will be top. Then of these three, I think Philly Fusion, Hangzhou Spark, and then Seoul. Am I putting Seoul fourth? Not even medal positions? I can't do Seoul like that. They got to the grand finals, for God's sake. Like, APAC is so competitive, this is the problem. Like, these top, like, 2 to 4 are fully interchangeable. I think Hangzhou Spark is clear fourth, to be honest. I think New York Excelsior, Chengdu Hunters, Guangzhou Charge, and then Valiant. That will be my overall. And now the final part. So, I've talked through what I think each team is. So now I'm going to add everything into an overall tier list and an overall ranking. So, S tier, Shock, and Shanghai, easy pickings. I think Justice is on this level. I think Justice puts Spark down to this level. I don't think anyone gets as low as them, but I think just above them is Vancouver Titans and Paris Eternal. I think Mayhem, Charge, I think are pretty similar. I think Outlaws and Rain go here. I don't think I can do Rain that dirty. I think Gladiator is in this mix as well. Let me just put where I think they generally should be. I think Dallas Fuel will be up here, Boston, and Toronto Defiant. Now, which tiers do I think? Like, I think I'm a bit too high on Chengdu and they have to come down, to be honest. I think of these teams, Fuel might be in this conversation. Am I being harsh to London putting them here? No, I think I'll stick with that. And my overall season ranking, so let's reset this. I think we're talking regular season, we're not talking playoffs, we're not talking people who make the finals. So I think Shanghai will be more consistent in APAC. I think San Francisco Shock. Actually, I think Shock will be better in the main season, actually, because I think APAC has leveled up. And I think Shanghai will have much tougher competition. So we'll do Shock, Shanghai, and then Justice, Soul, and Fusion. So I think Justice are going to be working a couple of things out. So I think Philly Fusion 3rd, Soul Dynasty 4th, Justice 5th. Then I think we can go Glad's Spark, because Gladiators Spark. Who am I thinking? Excelsior. Gladiators Spark. New York where am I? New York Excelsior. Dallas Fuel. Which is a shame for Dallas, considering they're only just above mid-table, even though they've had such a good season. Then I think I have to put Chengdu there next. I think Chengdu Defiant, Guangzhou, Mayhem, then Rain. Yeah, Mayhem, Rain, London Outlaws. No, I would go Uprising, Outlaws. Eternal. So I think that will be my overall 2020 bracket. Anyway, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed my 2020 prediction. I'm pretty sure this is completely wrong, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Peace.